Good evening. This is the Wind Turbine and Alternative Energy Committee meeting. We have a few things to talk about tonight, and probably the major focus for the night is the aggregation or the bulk buying of electricity from private companies for the whole town. If we had any minutes that we wanted to pass out.
Yes, I do. For both the December and November.
Wow.
I remembered them this time.
Nice.
So I believe.
Pass them on. Can we vote on these later? Because we want to get, I know that the planner has to go to the meeting next door.
You can pass them out now or hold
Sure,
on?
okay. Pass them out. That'll be
There's
great.
November and December, and if you want to pass
Thank you.
that way.
Do you have enough copies for everyone?
I think for everybody here.
Oh.
Well,
I
I'm
have
gonna take
mine.
Yeah, you might do.
This should be two.
I got two for
It's a whole pile.
We'll vote on this
Oh.
after the town planner moves on. If it's okay with Jeff and Jack, Maureen, because he's going to go to the meeting next door, and so does Ellie. Thank you.
This is from December, so you have to do the same right now. There's additional December copies.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move right into the planner's report.
Right. Well,
Eric?
we'd like to introduce the new town planner, Matt Benoit. Do the chair. Maybe Matt can introduce himself, talk a little bit about his.
Yes,
What's
Matt, I
back?
think you know almost everyone here. You were introduced to Maureen Daly and Jack Bacchus. You've seen him at town meeting for a long time, and Jeff. And it's nice to see you, and thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
If you'd like to make some sort of an introduction, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Will you be coming to our meetings, or?
I will be hoping to attend as many as possible with this
Great.
school reuse committee for the Julia Bancroft and Merity Stone schools. That meeting may conflict at times. I believe that as Eric has come to take on the part-time energy manager, I think our presence will both be required. But
Okay.
that's to be determined. I think it's important for our input, not only our presence, to be provided, and we're glad to do so.
Thank you. Do you want to say anything to the committee, or? We can have the meetings on Mondays or Wednesdays, whichever is going to be easier for you, so you don't have a conflict with that other committee.
Well, they're going to establish their meeting schedule tonight. So if, as this board is already established, I'd prefer to move the new board instead of the established board meeting times. So this time seems to work best for the members here. I will do my best to recommend a different time for that.
And Eric seemed to like Mondays. That was okay with us too.
Hope so.
It wasn't a problem. Was it a problem with any other
Except for
members?
first and thirds. First and third Mondays I'm not available.
Right, and then we have selectment meetings
Yeah,
in between
Monday's
those.
better for you because it's a long day.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So second, fourth is fine with me.
Since you can only stay for part of the meeting, because you have to go next door, if it's all
And
right
I
with
apologize, I'm sorry.
That's okay. If you're a busy man, a town planner's job has a lot of responsibilities. If it's all right with the rest of the committee, I was going to discuss later with you and open if we might have National Grid come in and put on a presentation that we can film on all of their mass save programs in detail.
Great.
And if we could throw their website up on the screen, the viewers at home can see it. I think a lot of people have questions about it. And one of the nice things about the aggregation companies that we found out, and I think Maureen can probably confirm this, is that even if we join one of these companies through the town manager, the residents of Auburn are still under the umbrella of National Grid
Yes.
and can participate in mass save. If they've got old electrical wires that are illegal, they can even get a $2,000 grant to remove them. They can get into zero interest loans on a new furnace. Yeah, but I think all of those things and the details of them would be great for a presentation from from National Grid, if they have someone who does that.
I agree.
And we would, if we could have a meeting with them, hopefully within a month, if that's all right with the committee, and if that's all right with you, may I leave that in your hands?
Sounds great.
Great.
What you're referring to, National Grid still obviously is our distributor, not only for the residents but businesses in town, anyone that draws power. We're discussing the aggregators and a negotiating rate for the supply of the utility. This isn't the aggregate. This is just for residential as it stands. This plan, or is it supposed to encompass?
This, I believe, encompaces businesses
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Many businesses already have it. They've joined the larger groups.
Okay.
But for a small business, this could be quite a savings to them.
Certainly. Now, some businesses, I'm sure I'm coming in the middle of a discussion you've been having for some time. Some businesses may be under contract or other suppliers already, don't have the opportunity to make the move to a recommended supplier from the town. This movement, I think it's a great initiative. I really appreciate the hard work that this committee's been putting into this decision, and I'm very anxious to see what we choose to do. And I do have a formal background in working with a utility company as a broker for the supply rates, so I'm very familiar with this process. So I'm sure my insight into the other end can be useful to this committee.
Yes, and it's unfortunate, as we've discussed, the hands are often tied by National Grid. They've got a lot of great people working for them, but because of the legislation, they have to buy electricity twice a year,
Yes.
whether the prices are good or lousy.
Right.
And that is one of the reasons why these other companies can beat them. But these other programs that they offer could save the right person literally thousands of dollars. I mean, I was looking through it, but I think they need detailed explanations and a possibility of questioning the person right here on TV.
Right.
And I think that might be an invaluable meeting for people to hear.
I agree. The outreach can only help.
Great. Anything else?
Not yet, but I'm sure there's more.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
The next thing on the agenda is to talk about and possibly vote on one of the companies to represent us that we've had in here. Yes, sir.
Just a question on the planner's report.
Yes, sir.
Has there been any contact with SED?
Yeah, we have been contacting them. Got an email from Matt Vanderbrook saying that the town is set to move forward on the business report, or that we have basically our paperwork and the funding from CEC in order, and that he'll be contacting us when they're ready to proceed. So
And that was what the situation was in December.
exactly, yeah. His explanation is that with the end of the year, they have had a lot of things to tie up, and he feels that the dust has settled and that they're ready to proceed. So
Did he give you any idea when they would be answering all the questions that we have?
honestly, it was a really vague email, essentially saying, you know, what I just said. No, it didn't address any of those comments. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Rick.
Okay, let's, anything else on the planner's report?
As Matt alluded to, the town, through the Green Communities grant, has advertised the position for an energy manager. It's a part-time position. The town advertised a couple of times and was unable to bring anybody on through that process. So Julie and I are sort of in the works of figuring out if that's something that I could do, and so we split my time between assistant planner and the energy manager for the town. The energy manager would oversee efforts like staffing this committee, sort of maintaining the green communities grant filings and reporting, overseeing those projects, as well as doing outreach to the community on efforts related to alternative energy here in town. So that's kind of in the works. I didn't think that I would be sitting with this committee after tonight, and it turns out that there's a good chance I will be continuing that. So,
Well, at some point, we'd like to hear more about the successes of the Green Communities Act. As you know, this committee was very much in support of that and sort of started that movement before Julie was here.
sure.
And, you know, we had her come in and do a presentation from the Green Communities, as well as the aggregation. But it would be good if she wants, I don't know if Julie still wants us to get involved in that more. We might come up with some suggestions that haven't been made already. And we know that we're an advisory committee, but we would like to see our goals. We'd like to be one of those communities recognized.
For being those the goals of the green community.
Yes, we'd like to be on that list instead of the one that isn't there.
Absolutely.
So this would be, you know, I wouldn't mind helping out, and I'm sure the committee would have some good ideas here.
Actually, we just met yesterday, we're starting the process for the second Green Communities grant process. So, going to be going for possibly $250,000 grant for heating upgrades and HVAC upgrades and that type of thing. So,
I'd like to see some of these things brought before this committee so that we could be part of that process. I know we're part of trying to get it passed,
Right.
but would like to be more involved in that. And I had expressed that to Joe. She seemed to be amicable to that, and some other goals for this committee. So, in the WPI energy report, did you get a chance to make copies of that for us?
I don't recall.
Yeah, Adam was in control of it completely.
Okay.
They did a presentation here,
Okay.
but they said that they wanted us to carry on after they left.
Oh. All
But we
right.
don't have a copy of the report,
Okay.
so we don't know what it was. I mean, all those reports are on the library website according to, under the professor's name,
Okay.
which is probably LePage.
Susanna Page.
Yeah,
I think somebody made mention of that yesterday at the meeting.
Right. It's not ringing a bell for me for some reason.
Yeah,
So. Okay.
I remember them talking about a report, and I'm assuming that's what it was.
Yeah, well, I think we should have the report here so we can go over it in detail.
Yeah. That may have been the report that Guardian had put together when they did an assessment of our facilities.
I don't know. I think, well, it's possible, but it sounds like it'll be two different reports.
Right. Okay.
Anything else?
No, do you have a time frame on when that report was created about?
Jack, would you say that was about a year and a half ago? A year and a half ago?
2013?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So I think that pretty much covers it for the planner report. I do have some, Julie was at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. You were there too, Matt?
There was a economic assessment training session, and we had a chance to meet with
Ginny Hebert.
Ginny Hebert, who's the executive director for the Blacksburg Valley Chamber of Commerce. And through our conversations, not that we brought it up, somehow it came up, and she was able to provide us with some feedback from some of the other communities, or even some feedback on some of the aggregators that were selected by some of the other communities.
Great.
And some of those reports are available today.
Yeah. So there.
We have copies for the committee?
I do, yeah. What they ended up doing, she said it may have been Sutton. Went through the aggregation process, and they ended up providing a ranking and feedback about the companies.
Yep.
So Julie just thought it might be helpful, food for thought for the
Sure.
board to consider. So I provide it for that.
Yeah, Peregrine we didn't do, Global Montel we didn't do. Anything else?
And I do have a draft, this draft matrix. I threw some criteria on there, but
We'll do that after the next one on the agenda.
sure.
That'll be item number 4.
Okay.
Number 3, I had asked if we needed to have any more companies interviewed, and the answer was no. We would be happy to interview more companies. I'm perfectly happy right now with ranking them myself. I don't know how the other 3 members present feel about that. If we were, I would suggest we do something like discuss it. And then one option is to take and have your choice and vote on the first one with the 3, a 2 for the second choice, and a 1 for the third choice. I've already got those cards prepared. If you decide that you want to do that.
We have Hampshire and Colonial. Who was the third?
Good energy.
Good energy.
Good Energy.
Yeah.
Good energy.
I don't believe that you were here on that.
I may not have, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a, and through the chair, I apologize, just as a point of reference, some of the recommendations that we received from Ms. Hebert lists some of the companies that you just mentioned, and their rankers and some of those reasons. I know I've missed some hearings in the past, and the group may be prepared to make a decision today, but I believe that some of this feedback may be valuable and may be worth going over before a decision is made.
Okay, so this is coming as a curve to me because I hadn't expected this to be presented tonight.
We got it on very short notice, and
Yeah.
we're happy to get such a thing.
And these were prepared by whom?
Jeannie Hebert, the Executive Director of the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce. There's some notes that were prepared with a ranker, gave this to us. I believe these are feedback from a particular municipality, but I forget which one. She
Is it just one man, or is this like
This
a
one I
group
believe,
of-
this one I believe is from one town. I can verify that.
Oh, okay.
That other time, I just don't have it right now. But one theme that you did mention in our conversation between Julie, Jeannie, and I is that the #1 ranked company on this list was chosen by several municipalities in Blackstone Valley and have a reputation that is very consistent with this report.
My problem with this paper is I don't really weigh anything that's not signed. There is no source as to who did this and what their axes are to grind. Now, we already know that Hampshire Council of Governments has been approved, not, but what'd you say, three towns or several towns south of here? By about 30 towns west of here. The select boards in each town, town meeting in each of the town, and they're presently using Hampshire Council of Governments.
I didn't know that. Well,
That, to me, that's 30 towns wipes out 3 like this.
that's great.
I don't know who these people are that are writing this, but I'm reading some of this
Right.
quickly, and I'm not even caring, don't really,
I
getting
get it.
some negative feelings on some of this.
I understand, and again, I apologize, I was not privy to the information you've already received, I just wanted to relay the information that we received, that's all.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is from interviews or whatever, and the only 2 things I asked for from the town was I wanted a better business report on each of the companies, which I haven't received yet. And, I hope that we're still working on getting that. Because, in the past, I've exposed a company that was recommended by the state as the gold standard for making statues when I came up with the idea of the statues for the Veterans Memorial Corridor. And that company had an F rating in the Better Business Bureau. And was buying statues at the local store and giving them to the towns instead of making them from clay. So I wouldn't go, sign on with any of the companies until you get a Better Business Bureau report. And also check with the Attorney General's office. Now, that's what I would expect the town to do in an official manner, and that should be part of the matrix. Now, I'm sort of going beyond voting on this today for what, the only vote this was considered was on what we know from what these people have told us and presented to us. Now, I will tell you that I visited Brookfield, personally visited, and talked to the head of the selectmen and to the town administrator. And they love the Hampshire Council of Governments, contrary to what I'm seeing here.
Well,
I'm only saying, you
I
know,
understand.
and so I know personally that, and they, the woman said, hey, listen, we offered National Grid a chance to meet them on prices. And National Grid said, we can't.
That's
We
good.
can't beat their prices.
Very good.
But
I just wanted to make it available for you. It's not, you don't have to take it into consideration. It's purely your decision as a committee. Just wanted to make it available today.
It's
I
what-
don't mean to weigh on your decision today. I just wanted to make sure you have it.
yeah, it's comes as a curve, and it's the fact that it's not signed, and they don't tell me who did it. It's like getting an it's like the blog, you know, and there's no
Those
name
are
signed.
We could have copied the email that was attached to
By
it.
fictitious people.
But again,
It
I
came
understand
from-
what you mean.
Yeah, the email came from Jeannie Hebert, who's, you know,
Did she do all
It
of
does have
this?
its paper trail.
and it was a review committee that was put together. I'm not sure who was on the committee and, you know, how long the review process
It came in
was.
so quick, we didn't have a lot.
Yeah.
I do apologize, I do have to go next door, unfortunately, but I just wanted to make sure this is available
Right.
for you.
Um,
That was all.
well, what does the committee think? You know,
I mean, I like the format. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, I like the format showing the pros and cons of each company that maybe we're considering. I don't know, but,
I mean, I think it is interesting, you know, the challenge is that it's still, it's not giving possibly the best insight into the experience once you get past the proposal and bidding process. So there seems to be kind of that front piece to it. So I think it's helpful to look at, but, you know, what would be really helpful is having something this level for post-proposal acceptance and then to see how they look at them.
yeah, and they're covering a lot of things that we're not really covering. They
we-
ranked Good Energy number one. Good Energy buys their power from Hampshire Council of Governments and does most of their work with Hampshire Power of Governments, Hampshire Council of Governments, I'm sorry.
How did you know that?
How do I know that? Because they both told me that.
Did they? I don't
Yeah.
remember that.
No, I think the Colonial Man did mention, he did mention that.
I thought was the
was
Hampshire
the-
bought power from Colonial?
no, Hampshire,
No.
Hampshire is both a broker as well as.
Broker
Yeah.
And a supplier.
Colonial, which has got a great record, they bought the power from Hampshire Council of Governments. Hampshire Council of Governments has got, there are two major departments. One, selling power as a broker, and two, representing towns, for which, when they buy it, they give them a 10% off cheaper because they use them as a person to buy it from. So they even get a cheaper price for the power.
Actually, well, was it a half a cent or was it?
I could be wrong, but I think it was a 1/10 of a cent.
This one here, this paper now, whether it's, the decimal point is in the correct spot or not, it says .0005 per savings. You know,
Is
whether,
that on page 2?
yes, right at the.
What paragraph?
Fourth bullet, yeah. So I don't know if the 5 is in the, you know what I'm.
Right?
I know, I
hear what
remember
you're
them
saying.
saying there was a savings,
Yes.
but I don't recall exactly how
Well, we
much.
can agree upon that. And we can check to
Let me
find out
look.
if it's
I
that
can
much.
see if it's in the presentation.
So their question is, will they still be objective if they give a lower fee if they're selling it? As long as they give the lowest price, I don't care how objective they are. They give the citizens the services, but the fact that a few towns south of here, the names of whom I don't know, and how they went through the process, when you take a list of all the towns west of here, they basically have every town. I believe Leicester was the last one that they got, the most recent one.
So they have a large established base.
About 200,000 people,
Oh, I mean, communities in total.
almost all of
Communities
western
served.
Massachusetts.
Okay. I was curious.
Yeah, yeah, almost all of western Massachusetts.
That's good.
Plus, they have a track record of buying for the municipalities in most of those towns.
You know, a lot of those towns have municipal power.
Yeah. Well, it's not a muni. It's they buy from Hampshire Council of Governments.
Like City of Westfield has municipal power.
Right, right.
As an example.
Yeah, like Sterling, yes. Well, all of these companies said they can't compete with the munis. The munis give it the lowest price, but when Adam Burning was here, he says, we don't want to do that. No, it's too much work for the town. But that would be the way to go to the lowest prices for the citizens. I mean, if you take a bill in Auburn and compare it to the one in Shrewsbury, it's about $60 less. My brother lives in Holden, he pays about $60 less for the same amount of kilowatts. Yes, Jeff?
I just had a little birdie give me the answer to our question. During the presentation from Hampshire, they said that they would charge 1/2 of 1/10 of a cent per kilowatt hour if they were both. So if they were both the broker and
Okay.
the supplier. So does that point 1/2?
That is .0005.
Yeah, that's- yeah.
Okay,
Zero
so it
five.
is.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize. I must-
That's a good
It just seemed like a lot of
clarification.
zeros, that's all. I was just
And I suppose it adds up after you get a million
So-
kilowatts.
Whatever I can do to help.
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe I can get some information if this meeting's still going. And thank you, everyone. Sorry I had to scoot. But
Nice to see you
apologize.
back.
Thank you, thank you. And again, I want to get more involved, and I'm sorry that I have to leave. I would
We'll let it go this time.
prefer to attend a full.
When you have spare moments, listen to the tapes
Of course,
and to their presentations.
I shall. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Have a good night, Matt.
Okay, so because this came in so late, why don't we hold this off for now?
I'd appreciate that because,
And it'll give you a chance to watch that other meeting too on TV.
okay.
I know you saw the first Hampshire Council one, so. that
Yeah,
a
I was
full-
present for one of the other Hampshire, and then I was here the night that both Colonial and Hampshire were.
Right.
So it's good energy that you need to listen to. I don't say it's good energy listed on this.
They're towards the back, they're the ones that
Got good
actually,
energy. Yeah, I
they
see.
were the ones ranked #1.
I'd have some problems with that. They don't have a customer in Massachusetts yet. Where's that stated here?
It just says 150, but it says out of state.
Right.
They don't have one Massachusetts customer. And I had a hard time getting that out of the gentleman when he was here, if you remember. He didn't want to admit that. That's an out-of-state office. It's a company coming into Massachusetts. The other two companies have worked in Massachusetts for a long time. You say, well, what difference does that make? Well, in each state, the legislature works differently. And to get something to go through committees in Rhode Island is one game. To get it go through the two committees in Massachusetts is totally different. If I remember, he said he could probably get it done very quickly, a couple of months. I don't think so. That's from everything I've seen and heard. It takes several months to get, once you're approved, then go through the state committees takes months, if not a year. So one of the reasons I had this on, to say what we thought on the information given, is that if we said this to Julie now, and I think any of those three companies could save us money. It's gonna take months for it to go through the state departments. And if the citizens of Auburn wanna make the savings and not get hit like this winter, we have to do this now. Not 4 months from now or 5 months from now. Then it'll be dragging. Plus, it then takes usually a month or two for National Grid to allow them to kick in and take over as the supplier. So then you've got a couple more months delay, in addition to what it takes to go through the state. That's the reality of the situation, which is something I didn't get a good feeling from Good Energy on. He thought it was going to be a quick process. I don't think, not in Massachusetts. Not unless the new government does something very different. So we can look at this. I'll pull this back, and
It'd probably be a more useful exercise once we're going to go through the matrix, flesh that out a little bit.
okay. Yeah.
Especially considering, and I haven't had a chance to go back and see, I missed, I think it was Colonial. Or it was
Okay.
one of them that missed that day, so to be able to rank them with really kind of having that full view of all the different categories, I think would just be a more helpful exercise.
Then that's what we'll do.
Are we
Okay.
scheduled to meet the 3rd of February? Or was that just
Not that I know of.
for some reason I have it on my calendar?
I think that maybe Eric had suggested these as dates.
Oh, I may have just, okay.
Yeah, may have suggested
Okay,
possible dates, and
okay.
I wanted to facilitate this as quickly as I can, just because.
No, I understand, that's why I was wondering if we were scheduled for the
You wanna
third.
go through,
Yeah.
if you want to go through government in the state of Massachusetts and different departments,
No,
it takes a while,
I
right?
can understand.
Okay, so let's move down to the next one. Discuss questions from matrix on above companies. That means we're talking about a matrix on the three companies.
Right.
Are you saying that you now want us to include Peregrine?
No, I think you're just talking about the 3 that we've already, our
Right.
proposals from, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't have to use this for the matrix. It's just, Julie said, I think it might be pertinent information. Why don't you pass it on?
So that's just basically, well, I'll wait until you pass it out. so before
Yeah.
I ask.
This is just a proposal of an idea. We can scratch criteria off. We can add criteria and formulate a matrix. And I had mentioned to Bob that maybe we could just shoot the matrix out to the 3 companies and have them
As a questionnaire type of
just
thing,
fill it out and then send it back to us. Sometimes it's hard to remember everything, right on point, but obviously that would be up to the committee to decide how you guys would like to use it and if you'd even like to use it.
Well, I'm going to take input on any one of these. We can start right at the top. Go right down the list.
Yep.
Has a designated customer service phone line. Manned by a person.
Put that in there.
24/7.
Manned by a person.
Right.
Now, I don't expect that to be 24/7 because this is not an emergency number. It's got to be clear that if you have an emergency with the supply of electricity,
Yeah, it'd be national.
you still call National Grid.
That's true.
So I wouldn't expect them to have a person on 24/7, but I would expect them to go from early morning until later. But I think if you just leave it this way, it doesn't mean it's manned by a person.
Right. No, that's helpful.
Any other comments on that first one?
Comment more in general, I wonder if it's helpful just for people to think about if we break them somewhat into kind of qualitative and quantitative.
I was thinking that too.
So we want stuff
Grouping them
that's
in
yes
some
or no's,
ways.
numbers,
Mhm.
and then where we want them to provide more commentary, because we'll provide public outreach, they'll all say yes.
Right.
But let's
Well,
ask,
what is
but
it?
let's ask them to say, what is your public outreach? And then we can look at them side by side
Mhm.
and get a feel for which we like. Some of them will just be yes, no, numbers. But I
Right.
think that might be helpful when we're ready to analyze what it looks like.
Because that's what I was gonna suggest, if we either number them or break them out like you were saying, and allow them to have a little bit more explanation. of
Right.
Give them the
Either a yes or a
opportunity.
no answer, no why, yes why, because type
Yeah.
of thing, or.
You could even group them into related sections if you want to do.
Well, why don't we just stick with this
Yeah.
idea? This is a great idea.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you may want to turn the paper this way
Sure.
when they,
Right.
because you're going to have,
Well, I'll send it
This-
electronic, and then the cells get as big as they need them to get, and then when they send it back,
We can
can
format it.
make it.
Or they can just
Make
write
it
see
look good.
attached, you know what I mean, and
Well,
add.
that's
you're going to have one ball printing that out.
Yeah.
Is there a different way to do that so that you don't have that type of thing? Because remember, we had that problem when Adam tried to print out the final report, which he never gave us on the wind turbine.
That was, yeah, there was a whole bunch of different formatting
Yeah, you
issues
don't wanna-
within the report
Yeah.
that was tough to hit print on the entire, because some were portrait, some were landscape, some were this, some, so he almost had to print
He had
it
to
in
use
sections.
paper this big, and he didn't have paper that big.
Yeah. So you guys don't have a final copy of that report?
Not those pages. Yeah, we have the final report, but not, there was some long breakdowns, and some of this stuff is scientific information,
Yeah.
for which I would ask Bill Coyle. Remember,
To comment.
one of the weaknesses of this committee now is Bill Coyle doesn't meet with us anymore. A lot of the questions that Rick Ringitis asked would probably have been answered by Bill Coyle, because he's an engineer.
Right.
I'm not an engineer. We're not engineers. So, this,
Yeah.
gotta, but I'm just thinking if you turn it this way, some of these things, they may have to write a full page to you on.
It's true. I know.
Yeah, but let's go through it and see which ones those are, okay?
Yeah.
The simple one, customer service phone line, by a
Man-
person
man by
and the
person.
hours you would man it.
Okay. Hours.
What do
Yep.
you think reasonable hours are? Something like, we should make a suggestion here?
Or should we just have, what are your customer service hours? Let
With a
them fill them in,
person.
so then we can
That works too,
Okay.
qualify it
thank you.
and by.
But I'd still like in there by a person.
Yep.
I think that's helpful.
The average response time for customer requests. It's pretty open-ended.
So to that, are we thinking, is it average wait time for when they're calling in, or is it response back to whatever the request?
I was thinking responses to requests for information. Or if you, I don't know, if you're calling, do you leave a voicemail, and then how fast do those get turned around? It's kind of what I was thinking, but it's not my matrix.
What
It's
kind of
your
questions are you
matrix. So.
anticipating?
Hmm?
What is my opt-out time?
Where's that?
No, I'm just
I
saying.
just wondered what the questions to
What
the
are you
customer
trying to draw
service.
questions on? I mean, we're trying to make something that doesn't really exist here. I mean, there are a few questions that are gonna be asked.
The committee is welcome to scratch any question off of this. You asked me for suggestions, and I made them.
Oh, okay. No, I don't mean to do it personally, no. I'm just asking what. this
Just
is
wondering what
What type.
customer service questions they would be, who knows?
I don't know. Why do they have a customer service line?
Yeah,
Maybe they don't need one. I'm not sure.
I wonder if there's other options to contact them as well.
Customer service.
Like-
If it goes down, it goes to National Grid.
Absolutely.
If, If the electricity goes out, you call National Grid.
Mm-hmm.
If if you want to get out of the program.
Perhaps, yeah, it'd be opt-out questions. And, you know, maybe the person, if it goes down, maybe the person just calls because, I don't know, if they have a magnet on their fridge or something, and then that customer service person for this aggregator says, oh, you gotta call National Grid for that, you know, that sort of thing. I'm not,
I suppose it could be a supplier problem too, if it does go down. I don't know how it would be, but I suppose it's always possible.
I think it's fair to add, you know, I wouldn't want us to hesitate on asking certain questions, just to see what type of response they provide back. They might provide some insight. One thing that would be interesting, and not more from the comparison, is if they could give us what are the traditional customer requests? What are the calls you're getting? So in the last month, you know, what's the average number of calls you get in? And because they will have all of that bucketed. And they'll tell you it's 60% are opt-outs. 15% are, you know, who are you, whatever they are.
And 2% are obscure.
And how many are calls that were probably supposed to go to National Grid, but they just happened to call them, so.
Have you gone to Good Energy's website?
no,
They already have like frequently asked questions,
okay,
and
so that's on there,
yeah, quite a few questions.
yeah.
But I see pertinent ones that, you know, what am I really interested in if I'm going to another company? How much you charging per kilowatt hour?
Of course.
What are my opt-out options? I'm finding that in the companies I've called, opting out is not expensive, and I thought it was going to be very painful. One company was $50. Well, I mean, that's not bad. And that company was offering electricity in September at 10.5 cents per kilowatt hour instead of the 16 that National Grid is now charging us. Some people in Auburn went to that company in September, and I won't mention the name of it. I'm not here to push a company, but they got it for 3 years at 10.5 cents.
Wow.
And they're not going to have this spike for the next 3 years.
So that's just a supplier contract.
Again, all the time, National Grid is our company. National Grid, what I called Mass Save, they said, listen, remember this, National Grid is always your company. We don't care about who you're getting the electricity from. We only care that you're a National Grid company, therefore you're eligible for all of our services. Now this next one is one I like, customer service, and I don't mean the 24/7. You know, an answering service would be fine after hours,
Right.
where they can call you during a regular business day. But the next one, has done business, and do you have any active customers in Massachusetts? Now, that's the one I was trying to get Good Energy to answer.
Actually, the actual number is further down. It says number of communities,
Currently.
number of customers currently serving in Massachusetts.
Yeah, the communities and customers, because I thought there was kind of like two different numbers, but it's, you know, up to you guys. Should I take the average response off there?
Marvin seems to think it doesn't hurt to have a question.
I don't think it hurts.
Yeah, so you can ask the question. Well, I mean, we can get rid of it later if we don't need it.
Eric, I'm scribing in here too, so I can send this to you after.
Okay.
Or
Great, thank you.
that might be easier than.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of number of communities and number of customers as being separate. So we know just the number of communities and then an idea of the number of people.
Sure.
What that represents.
Yep.
And then, let's see, familiarity with Massachusetts process. Well, we know that answer already. Good Energy didn't have it because they don't have any customers.
Right.
Hampshire Council of Governments has been working with the state for a couple of years, you know? And because they supply to Colonial Power, so are they.
Right.
but we still want it to come from them. So it's a good question. Any adjustment in that question from anyone?
Do you think it's clear enough with Massachusetts process? Or?
I think they're gonna try to fudge it, and they're
Right.
gonna just put down a yes.
Maybe in what way are you familiar with the Massachusetts process? Or what ways, or, you know?
Have you gone through the Massachusetts process to aggregate in a community, something like
Describe your
that?
understanding of the Massachusetts process. So you're asking them to say this is what they anticipate being.
I think we need to know if we're trying to find out if they've actually done it. So if you
So
haven't,
describe your experience with them?
yes,
Okay.
firsthand, yeah, their
you go.
experience with it.
Describe. Okay.
And see what they're gonna answer. If they're from Connecticut or New York or New Jersey, they may have no experience. All they've done is they've read a website, or they've made a call, but they haven't gone through that process, which is very different in this state. And it's different in every state, from my understanding. It's not the same thing. Is an opt-out program, is an opt-in program.
I mean, I think they all said opt out, but it's just information.
Yeah, no, I think that that's one of your more important questions here, personally.
So I have these, I think, so the ones that I think are quantitative at this point that are numbers, we have number of years in municipal aggregation, number of communities in Mass, number of customers in Mass, cost per kilowatt hour, customer service charges, customer service hours, average response time for customer inquiries. So those are just kind of numbers right there.
So what's the difference? What is the customer service charge? What would that be compared to the cost per kilowatt hour? I mean, are we looking at some type of,
Those are all supposed to be the same.
It's just, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
is there a service
Okay,
charge
cost per
beside?
kilowatt hour, I was wondering, I think all of them sort of said, we can't, you don't really know what you're gonna get for a cost per kilowatt hour until we go out to bid to purchase the power.
But maybe they could give us examples. But I'm just wondering, is there a difference between a customer service charge? You know, it costs you $20 to join, or $20 to opt out, or, you know,
All right.
service charge rather than a kilowatt per hour charge. I'm just
They
wondering
both
if
said there was no charge.
there should be
for
no
that.
service charge,
Be no
right?
charge for either. They said,
Yeah, that's what I
the
see.
part that surprised me the most about opt-out and opt-in for them was that they'd allow you to do it on a monthly basis. That surprised me. I thought it would be at the end of the
Didn't
year.
one of them say that you could do it almost at any time? Or was,
Good energy, I think. I think they had said you could opt out at any time.
Yeah, and
well,
they-
opt out, but I mean, I'm thinking
Oh,
opting
opt
back
in.
in
Yep.
once
Yeah, I
you
think
do
they-
opt out.
They both agreed to that one.
Yeah, you
but-
could come back in.
Yeah, and they both, it's by the month.
Oh, what was it? Well,
Yeah.
it might have, yeah.
But there's a hitch there. If you go to National Grid, when I called, it may take them 60 days to opt you out,
Oh, really?
which is where you have to add this on to the process.
Huh.
It might be 30 days. It all depends on when the billing period is for your house
That's interesting.
and when they're going to send the bill out and when they read the meter. And that's in the hands of National Grid whenever they want to do it. Now, the company accepting the business is at National Grid's mercy at that point. They can't take it over, the bill, until National Grid says it's now your customer.
So as far as maybe the questions with the opt-out and opt-in program, maybe we expand that a little bit. And what is the process of opting out? And then is it allowed to
How often?
or opt back in?
Yeah,
Yeah,
how
is there-
often?
You know,
Is there a
something
limit?
to that effect, that if
How much
people want to
time?
flip-flop, or, you know what I mean, if they want to opt out and then they go, oh man, I got my National Grid bill and it went up $100, so I wanna go back into the
Absolutely.
aggregation, you know what I mean? Maybe if they could explain that process or
You could
what they
see-
allow.
You
know?
can see people doing that this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Very easy.
especially-
I mean, you'd love to get on a national grid for the winter months,
Sure.
unless you're on a, paying it so much per month.
Yeah.
And then you only get hit at the end, I think.
Constellation,
Yes.
Constellation or whoever, you know, the.
Well,
different-
budget plan, I think
Oh,
it
the-
has
oh.
a budget plan, that's what I'm
Oh,
referring.
nice, oh,
So they-
nice.
But you're gonna, I think at the end, you're gonna get hit. 'Cause they're
I
not
did
gonna-
get hit in November, so I'm,
Happy
it
with that.
actually went down, so
Nice.
very nervous about next November.
Yeah.
As
But
we
maybe,
all
maybe
are.
if we can ask, you know, rather than being just generic like that, maybe
Yeah.
if we ask, you know, what the actual processes are. and-
So I have, just, I think we break it out into describe the opt-in program, describe opt-out program, but then pointedly questions lead time. So we can get them
Yeah,
to
time.
say, what is the lead time? So how is that gonna impact the customer? So,
Yeah.
so then we can kind of look across the board, which one's 30 days, 60 days, once a year, whatever
So
it
now
is.
you're saying opt-in, I mean, this is, the whole program starts, you're automatically in, right?
That's
That's how, it was. So
Unless
then you
you
opt
have-
out, so you're saying to opt,
Back
Back
in.
in.
There were some that came up that were specific, that some had to either wait, it was
Okay,
either a couple
okay.
times a year, or some had it where you could automatically.
Basically, just do it.
They
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
agreed, according to my
On
memory,
the
that
fly.
yeah,
at any time you could opt back in. The first one, I don't know about.
Mhm.
The second two said they could come in at any, yeah.
But maybe just
on
so-
a monthly basis.
so they could put it down on paper, just explain.
But Jeff, if someone's already in a program
Yeah,
and they've signed a contract with another company, they won't be in the program if Auburn signs this until that contract is done.
right. I understand that.
That kind of speaks to a concern that came up today at our small business roundtable meeting. We mentioned to them that, you know, the committee was going through this process and sort of described the aggregation, you know, what is it? And some of the attendees expressed that they are currently in contracts that won't
Right.
be ending for, say, like another 15 months was one example.
Right.
And their question was, if I'm in this contract, you know, and there's a fee for me to break it, I'm not going to break the contract. But when it ends, if this program has already started in Auburn, can I come in then, or
Yeah.
or if I'm
They
not
all said
able
you could opt
to?
in. They all said you could opt in.
But is there an opt-in? Is there a limit to that opt-in period in the
None of
beginning?
them said that, but let's nail them down on
Yeah.
paper.
So I'll put in here customer contract terms. I think it would be fair to even ask for samples of whatever the contracts look like. I think that would be interesting. Describe the opt-in program, opt-in, it's opt-in lead time post the initial onboarding. So you kind of have that first initial load of everybody
Right, everyone's in.
in, and then it's what's the lead time post that first initial piece.
Because the lead time, like you're saying, would be nice to know.
to help those
If
people.
this business, he knows, or they know that their contract ends in 15 months, should I make application in 12 months so that when this one ends, I'm right into, you know, so if it's a 60-day or 90-day lead time, you know, can I apply now for, you know, 3 months from now?
Yeah.
So let's say this led into the winter again, and their penalty for opting out was $100, which the company that I was talking about before, their opt-out is $50. For the winter, that's nothing.
Right.
Like,
You might as
Compared to
well
what
just
you're,
do
you
that
might as well
and
just
go
do it like,
Might be worth it.
saving a
but
couple
early
months.
enough, because now the citizen has to understand that it's got to go through the National Grid system of billing and reading the meter, which may take a month, maybe two. So if you say, oh, I'm going to get out, you know, like just the
Yeah,
day
I'm gonna say-
before and think it's going to happen, it's not going to happen that way. You know, I keep going back to Good Energy, thinking it's going to go very quick process.
Right.
Or even Adam Birdie said that, oh, this is going to happen right away. It's not going to happen right away. It takes a long period of time to go through these government offices. Then you got to go through National Grid, because they have their rules too. You know? There was one exception to what you said. If they signed a solar contract, one that I know of, maybe others, but if they signed a solar contract and they have solar collectors up, and let's say they use 1,000 kilowatts of electricity, but the solar only provides 800, those 200 can go to the aggregation company, and they can get the rate from the aggregation company.
Right. So whatever use comes off the National Grid system would be charged at the rate.
Right, but if they used more than that, they could go then to the aggregation company that Julie signs with.
Oh, you mean to sell that energy, in a sense?
No, it'd be,
No, they would be buying it from the company that we joined a contract with.
Oh, yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah, well, let's make
Yeah.
it simpler. Let's say that you use 1 kilowatt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's say you use 2 kilowatts,
Mm-hmm.
but the solar only covers that 1.
Right.
Where do you get that other kilowatt from? You're going to get it from National Grid.
Absolutely.
But you can go to the aggregation company for that 1, but
Mhm.
not for the 2.
Right.
they would
That's an
automatically, I believe, opt in for that extra 1 that you're saying, right?
I don't know the answer to that one, Jeff.
Because they'd be on National Grid's list as a supplier, so I would think everyone, yeah, as a National Grid customer, no matter whether it's, 1 kilowatt or it's 1,000, even though
No, I know what you're
you
saying.
solar,
Yeah.
So I would think it would automatically roll. I don't think.
I don't
it's
know.
Yeah.
I think that's a
It's
question
a
that
question,
needs,
sure.
it's a question that needs to be asked, because
Oh,
some
I
people
I
have
could
gone
be
to
assuming.
solar.
I could be assuming. and-
What with these companies, probably shouldn't assume anything with any of them, It's because we don't want to give out false information to a citizen. So how do you word that?
Impact to solar customers? I know that's pretty generic.
Yeah, what if
Wanna
you
get a
get more
little more-
specific? Yeah.
Um,
Can part of a solar bill go to the aggregation company? Can an excessive, more than the solar is providing, the energy the solar is providing? I don't know what I'm trying to say.
could residents with solar panels,
If they go over the amount that they've contracted for, can they go to the aggregation company and
Right.
buy electricity?
right? Can residents with solar panels be customers? Because does that kind of cover it
How does your program coordinate with solar customers?
with residential
With
solar?
residential?
Oh, customers with residential solar.
Is there any way a residential solar customer can benefit from your program?
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah, we know what we want to ask, but will they know?
But will they
Will they
interpret
give an
the
answer?
question
Yeah, will they give an
properly?
answer that's appropriate for the citizen?
Mhm.
But that's an issue, the solar collectors,
Right.
and how much is contracted for. That's an issue. Okay, opt in, opt out. Are there fees for opting in, fees for opting out? Let's
Mhm.
keep that one simple.
I think that's good.
How often can you opt in, opt out? Very simple language. How long will it take National Grid to let you opt in or opt out? You know what I mean, Maureen? I was told it's by the billing period, it could be 60 days.
That's what I was wondering, if it's a standard, 2 billing periods, 1 billing,
Yeah.
if they could answer it.
Depends on
that way.
when you're
Right,
applying.
if you're in the middle of, yeah.
It might only be 31 days.
Right.
If it's the day before you bill, then your meter's read.
Yeah, I
That's-
thought I remembered Colonial saying something, like for them, they can basically just make the switch in their system almost like that day. But as far as National Grid goes, it's not until
You'll
The
have-
following-
it gets red.
Yeah,
the
you'll have 2
following
bills.
cycle or something.
You don't want
Yeah.
to be paying 2 bills.
No. So
No.
it's definitely, National Grid definitely has an impact
Absolutely.
on the.
Yeah, and it's gonna slow down the process.
Mhm.
And you're gonna have to get the date and keep that paperwork on the date.
Mhm.
If you swap, of course, these are the people that are swapping. Most people are just gonna join and just pay the bill and benefit from lower costs. But the one thing we need to say is that if they did a 3-year program, that maybe for 2 years of that, all of that will be a lower cost. But there may be 6 months in there when National Grid gets lucky and beats this company.
Yeah, like in the summer months, maybe that happens.
Right, because remember, National Grid has to buy it in the spring and in the fall. And even a broken clock is right twice a day. So if they happen to hit it at the right time, and there are a lot of really smart people at National Grid, I mean, a lot smarter than I am, but if they happen to hit it at the right time, they could buy electricity cheaply. But I don't think that's going to be the October time, because that's when everybody's jacking up their prices, which is a horrible time to be buying electricity in October. I mean, just before they raise the price on natural gas. Are you happy that those questions are opt-in and opt-out? I think that's a very important one right there. Opt-in, opt-out.
Can I just restate what I have just to see if I captured it accurately?
Please do.
So for opt-in, generic, describe the program, see what they want to provide there. Fees, lead time with National Grid, and process post-initial onboarding. Opt-out, similar, describe the program, ask specifically are there fees, and then lead time with National Grid. So how long does it take them to get in? How long does it take them to get out? You need anything more specific than that?
I'm just thinking lead time. I don't know what,
I know.
I don't know if I like, I'm trying to think of a better word. It's almost like, I'd almost like spell that out. How long does it take you to opt out? Keep it simple so they can't misinterpret it in any way. Unless someone has a better way of wording it. And we may leave here tonight and you have one. You know,
What is the process time through National Grid to opt in and opt out?
you know, most of this done is just over the telephone.
And they should have, I like
And then you have
process
to
time.
record,
I think that.
then you have to record your name and everything.
Yeah.
And they keep that as a record.
If you actually talk to somebody. Or is
Yeah,
it pushing
actually
buttons?
talk to people.
Oh, do you?
I won't guarantee that that's always going to be true, but all right, we can go on to the next one. Number of years of experience in municipal aggregation. You know, I don't really care if they did California for 10 years, because they didn't work under the Massachusetts system, which when people come here, they tell me it's different from any other one. So, just
Welcome to Massachusetts.
in number of years experience in Massachusetts aggregation system. Massachusetts aggregation system. And right there, that's where I like to ask them, do you have customers actively buying electricity from you now? Because they can claim, oh, wow, yeah, we just got this town to sign with us. But it's not okayed by the two departments down in Boston. Therefore, they're not buying electricity for them yet. And National Grid hasn't kicked in, so that isn't official either. So there's like one
Yep.
department, two departments, and 3 National Grid. Anything else on that one?
Like qualifying both of those. So number of years experience in municipal aggregation. One below that, number of years experience in Massachusetts municipal aggregation. Number of communities actively purchasing electricity in Mass. Number of customers actively purchasing electricity in Mass. And I have cost per kilowatt hour estimated. Additional service charges, that's a yes or no, but it's worth just asking the question.
Well, presently purchasing electricity.
presently instead of actively?
Yeah. Because that means that right now they're getting a bill. And they can't use a lot of that one. Because you know they're gonna answer this the way it suits them.
And customer service hours manned by a person, average response time for customer inquiries.
You know?
Yep, and then, is it worth asking, so we talked about understanding the contract terms for the customer, understanding what the contract terms would be for the town, so what the municipality contract terms looks like, and under that, describe your experience with the Massachusetts process. And then the rest I have is the customer contract terms, sample contracts if available, describe your public outreach program, and then the specific opt-in and opt-out questions we developed. And then a question about solar customers. So the first piece is just kind of those simple questions, then specific to the town, and then the rest of it is really based upon the customer experience.
Right, and as we go on, you can just drag and drop them.
It would be worthwhile, I mean, so they can kind of toot their own horn, ask for customer testimonials type of customer, you know. Well, they could probably point us towards a website or something. I don't know if they have anything like that. I mean, you see that in a lot of websites or whatever, you know. A lot of it could be BS too.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
who knows who's writing it, you know.
So it'll be interesting, I think it's worth asking that question because these are a lot of questions for them to ask. They've already come in here. I think you'll get a good feel for their engagement in the process based upon
How they respond.
how they respond to the question. So we'll put additional information you'd like to provide, customer testimonials, estimates on savings, and just give them the chance to see if they
Yeah.
want to toot their own horn.
As far as the public outreach, what did you put for that?
We hadn't got to
yeah,
that one yet. I
okay,
just
okay.
put it as a place, just
Just as a
describe
placeholder.
public outreach program. I think we
Okay.
might have
I didn't know, yeah.
fleshed that out a little bit.
Certainly we're part of that.
Oh, right.
Public outreach.
Okay, number of communities currently serving in Massachusetts.
I think you guys covered that one.
I don't know if we did. How many, can you maybe list the company, the towns you're representing? Because I think we're gonna find out one of these companies is representing 4 towns, and another one is representing 50. This could be a deciding factor. I think it would be important to know how many there are.
Yep, I think that's it.
How many and who, or what, Rich?
I almost like the names listed.
Is
So
that-
then if we see them on 2 lists, we know we got something we gotta check.
Yeah. And that gives us a point of reference too. We can call these communities too.
Absolutely, good idea.
Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
I'll put in, please provide lists separately.
And we're still on aggregation. Are we interested in how many of them they provide electricity for the towns? Well, we're talking about citizen aggregation for citizens now, here. But many of these companies also buy for the town side.
Oh, for municipal facilities.
Correct.
I think, I mean, it could be pertinent with our net metering credit agreements. I think we are locked in for like 20 years for our municipal buildings for the purchasing of power. So I don't.
But I mean, like through Constellation type of thing?
Constellation's like 3 years, and then we have we've set up 2 agreements with solar, these solar farms that are under development. And when they're on board, we'll be purchasing our power from them.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so that
But
will,
that still leaves us, I think, 3%, 4%?
there is,
Because
yeah,
I
it
think the net
counts
metering
for,
agreements are only, it's either 96 or 97%
yeah,
of
I
the
think about
town's
97%,
usage.
right.
Because
So-
that's where my landfill project fell through, and he says that we're already committed for the, 93%. So for us to go through
Right.
the full-blown solar farm, for 3%, it really wouldn't have been.
But Jeff, these are only laws that are in on paper. These things can be amended and changed
They can be, that's true.
very quickly.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
No, I
if
understand.
if other towns find themselves in the same position, and they get together with Senator Moore and Representative Frost, in 6 months, that law can be changed like this.
Yep.
I
You're
mean,
right.
look at the Harper law, how that was changed and brought in millions of other people to refinance their homes. I mean, and this is one of the things we may want to do at a certain point, is make a suggestion to Julie and the select board and Senator Moore if we see the need for legislation. I remember we had a former governor that told us that our taxes were going to be relieved as homeowners, and nothing ever happened about it. We could certainly, I could see this as a way for towns to have solar facilities, even if it happens 2 or 3 years from now, that could help relieve the tax rate. And if it goes over the 100% need of the town, if it's lowering my tax rate, I'd vote for it, in a second. Plus, there's really good news on the horizon for solar collectors in different parts of the world, Germany in particular. They have right now solar collectors that are producing 50% more electricity than the ones you bought into with the town. So I'm almost at a point where I don't want to sign a long-term agreement, because that technology is improving so fast that I may be able to go in and for half the space produce twice the electricity, probably at the same cost. So in this case, I'm even thinking for my own home, I'm prepared to wait 2 years on that one. But I know Germany already has them. It's just a matter of getting them out and having them mass produced. But actually it's a 100% increase in production, pretty much. So that's substantial, and if they're doing it, I'm sure the Chinese are doing it and some other countries are doing it. But again, these things, if we have suggestions, we should come up with them, and if people don't like our suggestions, they can tell us no. So we're only an advisory committee. Number of communities who have abandoned service. This goes to my point that I want the town, and I've asked for this before, to do a Better Business Bureau look at all of the ones we're voting on. But I would take that one step further. I also want you to get it from the Attorney General's office. How many complaints have been registered against these companies? Because now I think they have to tell you that. Now, they may not have a lawsuit against them at this time, because they usually wait for a certain number of complaints, then they draw up a lawsuit.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I've never done that before, but I can give it a shot.
AG's office, very
Yeah.
helpful,
Okay.
very helpful.
So those complaints filed against companies, I figured I'll add these in on here,
Sure.
but they might not be what we send to them, so at least we have the full. So it's complaints filed against company through Better Business Bureau, and what was the AG one?
Attorney General's office.
Any
Through the
complaints?
AG.
That's
filed-
Maura Healy now.
Yeah,
Yeah, any
filed with them
complaints?
is- yeah.
Yeah. And that's how the lawsuits develop. I mean, that's how Martha Coakley sued the banks.
Better Business Bureau has a rating system too as well, right? Don't
They
they?
do have a rating system.
Yeah, and it can be,
Yeah,
well, I talked about one I did before. I mean,
yeah.
Is that something where you just call the Better Business Bureau?
You can usually go
right
online.
on the web.
Online?
Go online
Yeah.
and look them up.
Okay.
You can print it out.
Cool.
I print it out. They put the F in nice big letters. But it took me a while. I was in California, so I had to wander through there. Their codes. It's not, they're not as easy either.
Okay.
So are we keeping this number of communities who have abandoned service?
I don't know. I was speaking to the two things that I wanted to make sure were in
Right.
there. Or if they've had enough time to abandon service with them.
I don't know, it's just a thought.
Yeah,
Couldn't hurt to leave it on there. And
No.
hopefully all three say 0.
right.
Should we leave it generic as any, or do we want to specify Massachusetts?
No, I would say
Just like generic.
generic, that way.
Right, because a company like Good Energy, to Bob's point, would say, oh, we have none.
Yeah, none of them, right, because they haven't served anybody.
Right.
They don't have any customers yet.
And maybe a footnote, if so, which state or something.
Which community?
Which,
Please provide those separately.
And they were a little short on people. I mean, he told me I can only stay so long.
Hmm.
And then he was going down a Plainville to talk to another group.
Oh, yeah, I remember him saying that he could have brought like 3 other people or something like that.
They were different, trying to sell, like salesmen trying to get other jobs.
Hmm.
Number of customers currently serving in Massachusetts.
Yep, we have that one.
yeah,
I think that's, so we already had,
I think she grouped that with communities, and then right after that was
Good.
customers.
so move on. Rate charge to customer for service. I think that should be tied to the length of contract. And I think they're pretty much going to tell you the contract's got to be this long and it'll be this much per kilowatt.
Mm.
I think that's the way they're going to do it. You know, like the gentleman who signed up with another company in September, they told him we're offering you a 3-year contract at 10.5 cents per kilowatt.
Hmm.
And he says, what do you want me to sign? You know, because the next month he realized National Grid was 16.23 cents per kilowatt.
But they didn't talk about, none of the groups talked about any type of service charge, other than the per kilowatt, right?
They talked about it, but they said it's all the same. In other words, it's be the same as with the National Grid. It's the kilowatt cost that changes.
Right.
And then the customer service was something like 1/10 of a cent per kilowatt. Does that sound familiar?
Like an administrative handling
yeah.
fee or
So if you're
They take
paying
that-
10
they take
cents
that
per
out.
kilowatt hour, then there's a 1/10 of a penny added on to that.
They take it
Right.
out of that amount,
Yeah.
which after a while, after 1 million kilowatts, it's
Yeah.
a lot of money. It
Yeah.
tends to be a lot of money.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's,
They want to make money too, I'm sure, you know.
some of these are representing a lot of communities,
Mm-hmm.
and they're making a lot of money, even though some are non-profit.
Mm.
That's another question. Are you a for-profit company or non-profit? What is the length of your contract? And here we get into, and I don't know how you feel about this as a committee, is what you would recommend to the town and how long it should sign a contract. Because we can vet all of these companies and read what other towns have done, and then find out at 3 years that we had a dog. I don't want to do that. I mean, we're going through this exercise carefully to make sure that doesn't happen. But I think most of them are going to want a 5-year contract. But I should have looked at 3, and then say, fine, if we like it, we'll sign after that. But for me to sign a 20-year contract with any company, I don't like that. Even with the solar, you know, I have reservations on that because of the advancements in technology here are happening to lightning fast. So what are your feelings on the length of a contract? Do we just ask them what the length of their contracts are?
So I have broken down contract, just terms, and then a separate one for the length of the contract.
But
So
be
we can-
thinking. of that.
recommended length of contract or something, because didn't they say that they'd almost sign with us
We
as
can
often
kinda Taylor.
Yeah, tailored to what we're actually looking for. So I think we'd be looking for a recommendation from the broker, right?
Yeah, because he's gonna tell you I can get it.
Wait a minute. Yeah, they might
A
not always
one-year
recommend.
contract, he's gonna tell us, we can get you this at this price.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the key, again, like some people, I have people ask me all the time, should I put solar up? And they say, see, it's free. And I says, but I wanna ask you a question, how much are they charging per kilowatt? The person says to me, 17 cents. I said, that's what National Grid is charging.
Yeah.
Now, what if your roof leaks?
Yeah. Yeah,
What do you got
exactly.
then? You know, you're gonna have to take the solar collectors down, and you're gonna have to put them back up again. At your expense, not
You have
theirs.
to pay both ways.
So you've gotta really be careful. It's different if you can put it on the ground next to your house. But I think that's a key thing, how much per kilowatt hour? Okay. And the cost per kilowatt's probably gonna be less for a longer term contract. We wanted to get in on that at all. If it's a shorter contract,
Do you
it's
wanna
probably gonna
ask-
cost more.
Does the length of the contract? How does the length of the contract impact the cost per kilowatt hour?
Sure, yeah. Nice,
Yeah,
that works.
I like that.
And then the next one is, are all National Grid programs still available to customers? You know, if this is going out on like on a web page, or if this is going out to the public at some point, you know the first thing I would put at the top of this? In case of an emergency, all electrical emergencies are handled by National Grid. If you want, I'd have that right at the top of the list, because that's a major concern on frequently asked questions. And then after we look at this, we need to sort of like try to arrange these maybe in order of importance to us. To me, the length of the contract's important, the opt-out's important. Cost per kilowatt is the most important thing. We wouldn't be doing this to
Bottom line.
begin with. So all of these other things, yes, are important, but the cost per kilowatt to me is the most important thing.
Yeah, I think once we get it back from them, we can stack rank it.
Okay?
Is the committee interested in profiling with green energy? You know, having that being part of the profile of the contract, or is it sort of just, let's just get the cheapest price? I remember them mentioning, you know, we can do different portfolios for energy sources.
Oh, right, for good energy, they said if we wanted to have the more green energy.
You could have more green energy, but it might be more expensive, that sort of thing.
I would personally,
Mm.
how does the committee feel?
Because they each mentioned that green energy.
But how do you feel, what would you think be best for the town, the lowest cost or the green energy?
Right.
I think the town would probably be interested in the lowest cost.
Okay, so there's, Maureen says the lowest cost.
That could possibly very well be, but
We'll have to make
how
a
does
decision.
the green energy, if we were to go the green energy, does that impact the green communities? Does that give us points towards grants or anything like that?
Yeah.
Possibly, I don't know.
That's a good question.
It probably does count in one of the categories is the number of people who have green energy at their homes, such as solar collectors, is probably in there. I think from her original presentation, she had mentioned that.
Because Hampshire councils, expand, it says, will the program include options to expand renewable generation and sustainability here in Auburn? It says we can create and implement green custom programs as they've done in other communities.
Right, and if we put up solar collectors and we had some room in the town's electrical use there, they would find the community for us. that wanted to buy green energy. Of course, they're representing most of Western Massachusetts, so they're not gonna have a hard time. You know, it's,
I thought Colonial said something.
so just as an aside, how far did Julie want us to get involved in the Green Communities Act? I mean, we could help out.
Yeah, it hasn't come up. The town had, like, you know, there are companies that provide the assessments of the municipal buildings. We had a company, Guardian,
Yeah.
who did the assessment in 2013
Yeah.
and highlighted pretty much like the issues with each building that could be addressed by the grant money.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Like Mass Save does for the home.
similar. Yep. And so, essentially, administration has said that's a helpful report. We're
Right.
going to use that to
There's a guideline.
kind of chip away at things. Yeah.
Okay. But we didn't get an award like the other communities got.
Not yet. We've only been a green community for, is it a year?
Well, they weren't. No, it's longer than that.
Is it?
Yeah. Those other communities have only been there a year or two, too.
Yeah, we haven't had our full designation for much longer than a year though, I don't think.
Well, the school department took our ideas with the green communities, and I know I spoke before the school committee on this, and as soon as I did, Joe Fahey went out and looked them up on the web, and he saved, I think it was $100,000 just from that one meeting.
But as far as the town being a part or getting our designation
It's
of,
been at least a couple of years. Yeah, at least 2 years. Yeah, because Joe, that work was all completed last year. And I'd like to have him at one of our meetings here too.
Yeah.
So we could explain to us all the things that he's done. He's done a lot of things to save money on the school side. A lot of things.
Yes, he's very active, very knowledgeable.
He's got a lot of expertise. Okay, which one are we on? All National Grid programs still available to customers. That has been, that's what they told me. I think they told Maureen the same thing. And two of the companies said that that's true. But it doesn't hurt to ask them. Maybe there's going to be an exception at some point. And you're going to invite we'll invite National Grid in here to go over all of their programs with us.
Yeah. Yeah, if the committee, I know that was something that you requested, if the committee feels...
If you don't want to do it,
that's-
I'll do it myself, But I prefer that you did it,
Yeah,
coming from the
yeah, that's
town
fine.
side.
Wouldn't hurt.
yeah.
And we can ask them directly too,
Absolutely,
put them on the spot.
yeah.
Yep.
But I think that would be a tremendous service. Refrigerators, and
Right.
all the other little
I
things.
just took advantage of
You
the
did, yeah. great.
refrigerators, and I had two of them. I got
Yeah.
$50 a piece. Well, it takes 6 weeks or whatever to get your check. I just got an email the other day. The incentive is $100 now. So I lost out on $100 because I did it too soon.
Little-
They bounce back and forth between $50 per refrigerator to $100.
You don't know
I
that.
know, but,
Yeah.
and they allow every household two per year.
Now, did they give you anything, Jeff, off on the refrigerator you bought to replace it?
Yeah, there was something,
Some sort of a
like a
rebate.
$30
Oh,
$30
better than
energy
nothing.
efficiency rebate or something.
This is what I'm saying, all of these things, if they went through you're talking about
But that came through
$10,000
the
worth of
people that I bought the refrigerator from. They said that, when you, there's certain incentives.
Yeah.
Attached to certain.
Yeah. Plus, you bought an energy efficient one, so you're gonna save there too.
Yep.
Okay, let's get back to this one. Okay, now it's my understanding that this does include businesses.
Small business, you're right. Well,
No.
not just small businesses.
All businesses.
Okay. Can we ask for clarification on that? Just,
That's what we're asking.
okay.
Are all businesses part of this?
Mhm.
Now, usually, large businesses are already in something like this.
Because they're using so much electricity that it's in their benefit
The
to,
companies have gone to them, they're getting
Right.
letters all the time, join us and save you money on your electric bill.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that we can't do better for them.
Mm-hmm.
And we may offer a program with the company we choose that they may want to take advantage of.
So it's worth putting who is eligible.
Our
Residential,
businesses, are all businesses eligible?
Are all businesses eligible?
Yes. Nice and clean. What will your public outreach program involve?
Mm.
The last one. In other words, I want to know what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
How can we better word that?
Describe public outreach program. That's
I
just.
want the
cons-
details of it.
Mm.
I want the details.
Do we want to specifically ask, what will involve, and then sub-questions, public meetings, public meeting attendance, or
They're going to say the
flyering?
usual ones that
or-
we get from all the companies.
Yeah.
Looking for the one that comes up with something a little different.
Okay.
But I do want a list of them,
Mm.
so we can hold them. And you said you're going to do this, and then all of a sudden, why aren't you doing it? When the public outreach,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want the responsibility to fall on the town.
No.
So they're the ones who are making the profit on this.
Right.
So,
Plus, the town doesn't really have the staff to be,
oh, I hear that all the time. Well, Hampshire Council came with 3 people that night,
Mm-hmm.
So, and we met a 4th one at the other meeting.
Mm.
Who's the runner, that Ken Osstein.
Right. Yeah.
But he couldn't, why he couldn't come? He's on the select board in Belchertown.
Mm.
So they meet on Mondays. So what are the details of your public outreach program?
So they can put and provide details and then sample materials. They must have some promotional materials as to the stuff that they send out and see what they send back. Some of them will have them.
Do you have a list of frequently asked questions? And one I'd like to see in there somewhere, if there are any changes in costs to the customers, will you notify the customer? Because they say there isn't, but I want that down on paper, saying that if they're gonna change some fee or some cost, there should be some notification. And I'd like to see on that bill somewhere what National Grid is charging for that month as compared to what they're charging us. So we know if we're actually saving money. Because once you get with one of these companies, you don't know what National Grid's charging for that month. You don't have a bill with them anymore. So how do you know you're really saving it? How to word that? Now they know when National Grid is charging on a daily basis. They have someone that just looks at that right away. National Grid's charging. So it's not going to cost them any money to do this.
Would it be fair to ask them? See, I would imagine we really wouldn't want to see that as much on the bill. I mean, I think the customer would find that interesting. We can ask if they have it today, but I would imagine, as any vendor would, they'd have to provide some level of reporting. So they should be providing some type of reporting back to the town that says,
Even quarterly,
Yeah,
what the
whatever.
average savings
Yeah.
or...
here's how much came through, here's how much you paid, and they're gonna probably benchmark it against some number. So I think it would be fair to ask just what type of reporting do you provide your customers?
And you're saying you'd like something sent to the town.
Yeah.
Okay, put that in there as a separate question then. There's 2 questions there. No, that's good.
Just looking at This, one of these companies in this list says that they'll provide customer reports on savings analysis. So maybe we could just word it like that.
So what type of reporting is available? Say both customer and town, so
Right.
we can get a sample, so here's what they're sending out.
On savings. What do we want?
I want to know what National Grid is charging, because that's who I would be with, I wasn't with
If
them.
you weren't with them.
Right.
Hmm.
I want to know, how to compare your price with National Grid.
Mm-hmm.
No, I understand what the town wants to know, because you want to know if you made the right decision.
Right.
And if that's on their website,
That's a good
on
question.
National Grid's website, whether they're current charges.
Yeah, but all of it, we shouldn't have to tell every customer, walk it up on the website.
On the
It
website.
should be right in the bill. So it's very convenient for the customer to see, the company X charged me 11 cents per kilowatt this month. National Grid was charging 10.
But remember, National Grid's the one that's printing the bill. I don't know if they'd want to undermine their own.
Or it might not even be something they have control over.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it may not. From
Also,
time to
let's-
time, will you notify the customers what National Grid's prices have been from time to time? I think, how are we gonna know we're saving money? I mean, you can't expect everyone to look it up on the web when they have it at their hands. I mean, it should be very easy for them to put it on let's see how they answer that, because to me, it's very important that I know the customer's saving money. And I think a lot of people that swapped companies don't have any idea if they're saving money, because the company
National
doesn't do
Grid's
it.
sending out I mean, they're the ones sending out the bill. I don't know if the other one has any say in it. I mean, and National Grid isn't gonna, if somebody's charging you 12.5, National Grid's not gonna put on the bill that we're charging you 17.9. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Well,
Because, I mean, you're not getting a separate bill,
Well, why don't,
from them.
actually, it is, this bottom half is their bill,
Yeah, but that.
and the top half is National Grid.
so
it is-
let's ask them
it's like-
just what type of reporting or notifications they provide on the savings for both the customers and the towns, and see what they answer. They might say, when the bill
Sure.
comes, this is how it displays it, or they provide it in another
We put in
area.
there is compared to National Grid, because that's our mother company. I know, I'd like to see it on it. No, they may not do it, and Jackie, you may be right.
I mean,
You may be
I know
right,
if I
Jack.
was National Grid and making out the bill, I wouldn't do it.
No, I understand. I'm only saying I would like to see
Yeah.
it.
Maybe if the one doing the other half of it, if they had say over, if they're renting this space of the bill and can put on anything they want, maybe they would put on, what National Grid was charging. I don't know.
And then maybe on Monday, I'll find out that I don't have a meter at my house anymore.
Yeah. I wonder if enough people leave National Grid's supply side, if they will then increase their service charges, you know what I mean? I wonder if that would impact, if National Grid would then say, well, we've kind of like lost so many supply customers, let's increase our,
Service side.
What's on TV? December 1st meeting, hours.
backlash.
Throwback Thursday, oh, wait a minute, today's
Oh,
Wednesday.
wait.
You want the answers, we could listen to them. That's Hampshire Council of Governments up now.
So just to give some perspective, we are not counting the Better Business Bureau, the AG ones, which we wouldn't throw to them. We're up to 34 questions for them. Not saying there's a judgment behind that, just saying we're up to 34.
You're being thorough.
I don't care how many pages
Yeah,
it goes.
yeah. I said no judgment, just more reference point.
Yeah, I think it's
A
great.
lot of these are
because-
very simple, and they've already provided them to us to a certain extent.
Absolutely. But like Eric wants to be on the safe side when he goes to Julie, he wants it in writing because he's a worker here.
So we can,
And he wants her to know that he's done a thorough job.
We've done it. And
And,
like you said, we can post something like this on the internet
Absolutely.
so that the public can know too. This is the information that we had, and
I mean, we can put this all together.
Yeah.
You know, each company's gonna send in you know, the answers to our questions.
Right.
We can combine, you know,
Absolutely.
here's the question, here's the answers from each company
Yeah.
to those questions.
That's how I'd like to present it.
And I think it'd
Side
make,
by side,
make
so
our decision easier too, because we're gonna be able to look across the line and see how they answered.
It's another tool.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then by attending the meetings and listening to the people,
Right.
we also got a feel for them at that time, which I think is invaluable also.
Yeah.
You know, it's sometimes on paper, something looks a lot better than, and it's quite different when you meet the people.
And we could actually take the answers and rewatch the presentation to see if they jive.
Well, I think we put the pressure on them when we asked what the opt-out time was. I think that they changed those to please us, so that the opt-out times were the same as the other companies. So there is this happening through competition,
Yeah.
because originally when we were looking at this, the aggregation companies that I looked at were talking about an opt-out during a one-year contract period. And then you could come back in after the end of a year. Now they're going by the month.
I remember hearing that.
Billing
Yeah,
cycle.
so I think we've actually negotiated here by having them meet here. All right, are you happy with that?
I think that's great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great. We're happy to help you, and it was fantastic that you put all
I got it
this down.
formatted in Excel, it's all done.
That's awesome.
So,
Thank you.
We haven't had this before, Maureen, we're getting a little spoiled here.
Yeah.
I figured it'd just be easier to do it, so I had it looks just like this, but it's in legal, so it should, and it's all formatted so that we'll still have to probably go through and clean it up, but you should be able to
Right.
take it and just kick it out, so.
That's great.
Much more than he had before.
And
Thank you so much.
you know what I'd like to do is have this obviously come in before our next meeting. You know, maybe I can send you a paper copy and then email the rest of you so that you have some time to look at it, you know, before you reconvene and,
Yes, it's always good to look at it.
you know, process it a bit before.
Sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And under those communications, is there anyone who didn't get the article that was in the paper? You didn't get the article that was in the paper? Okay. So now we have a matrix with what, 36 questions? That will help us to look at it. Are we interested in inviting any of these other companies to, or is this gonna draw out the process too much?
No, I think the ones that we've already looked at, I mean, if we want to at all go back to this, they're in the top, the ones that we've already looked at are in their top half of the group, so I don't think there's a need.
Who is their top company on this ranking?
Good Energy. Good Energy.
Good Energy was the top one?
They ranked one, Peregrine or Peregrine Energy, they ranked as number 2.
How could
Colonial 3, Hampshire was 4.
How could they rank a company 1 that doesn't have one customer in the state of Massachusetts?
I don't know what their ranking
Yeah.
process or system was.
I don't get that.
Welcome to sit at the table.
And if you could find out who did this,
Oh, yeah.
I really don't, I'd like to,
I would like
In
to
the
know that too,
process-
because I would like to contact whoever it was, because I have some questions on some of the comments that I'd like to answer for myself.
Through the chair, we would like to invite Matt back to the table.
please.
They just didn't want to sit without your permission, so
Oh, no, please come up.
you don't have to review. I just wanted to come back since the other meeting.
Well, thank you very much for coming back.
Sure.
We've just hashed through in 36 questions
I believe,
in that area.
36?
For a matrix or a chart. And we're at the point of, do we want to, if they don't have a copy, I don't know if we can make copies of
It's okay.
that for them. Do we want to invite any of these companies here from this list that you just gave us? And I've heard no from one person. Jack, how do you feel? Doesn't matter?
I mean, basically, yeah, more or less, they're gonna tell us, you know, their rate and how many customers they have. I mean, if there's any way we could just find that out, and you know, the presentations are pretty much the same. I mean, you know, just a few things had changed. So I mean, if you were seriously thinking of somebody, then you know, bringing them on, then you'd certainly want to hear their presentation. But I mean, if you went with the matrix and used, you know, just the three that were on there, and somebody really stood out, I mean, if somebody was best, I mean, you know, good, better, best, bester, you know, you just, you know, reach a certain point where
That's what this was supposed to be.
you know, you may not, you know, you can't improve on what you got. I mean, you know,
We could always
you maybe
send-
search and search and search, but
We could always send the matrix out to the same companies that they interviewed.
How would you feel about that?
Just a thought. I mean, I don't know. And see how the other, what, 5 companies.
It's a thought. My only, the only thing I think about is at some point when you have so many vendors to choose. I've
Yeah.
done work like this, and you
It's too much.
dilute the ability to
Yeah.
really distinguish
Yeah.
one from the other.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you got
unless
36, you know,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna look, you know, nobody's gonna come out the top in 36 categories. I mean, if you get this many people in there,
Yeah.
then you got, you know, this one good in here and good in here, you know, are you gonna rate everything from 1 to 36 and then, you know, take standard you know, I mean, you can really, you know, take it to an extreme.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
I mean, I think if you got, you know, we've heard enough presentations, we know kind of what we're looking for. If we see somebody we think that's, you know, really good, because number one, you find somebody you think is really good, but you say, well, geez, maybe there's somebody out there better, and then you look for another 3 months. Well, the cost of what you're paying is rising during that 3 months or 6 months or whatever it has to be. So what you found that was better really, in the long run, really wasn't, because while you were tracking them down, the cost went up, you know, and this, you know, this company was X here, and at the time you searched and you found somebody that was, you know, a half a cent less, but by the time you got to sign it, it was a cent and a half more. So it's, you know,
You lost a half a cent.
I mean, you kind of, I think this is something you want to get on as soon as possible. I mean, prices here seem to be on the way, you know, they're not fluctuating, they're rising. So, you know, grab while you can.
Thank you. Maureen?
I 100% agree.
And I agree with that too, especially, but I think there are different times during the year when energy prices go down. And I think it's a natural, almost a seasonal thing. And I think that part of that, like the rise in electrical bills have gone up because in the winter, there's more demand for natural gas. Therefore, you got more people competing for the limited supply of natural gas until they bring that other pipeline in. And National Grid has to buy at those set periods, even though they could have the best workers in the world. They're required by law to buy it when a price may be high. What I'm worried about is if we delay our process here in making a recommendation too long, I'm concerned with how long it takes the state of Massachusetts to go through this process. It has to, once it goes to Julie, and she chooses a company, it then has to go through the process in Boston, which is, I believe, 2 departments. We don't know how long that's going to take.
Right.
One of the company, it took almost 2 years. In some cases, they kept sending it back, and we want this
If
more
it's
paperwork.
anything like the agency that's looking over the wind turbine stuff, I mean, you know,
Oh,
we'll all be old and gray, you know?
What is our local process? I mean, once we come to a determination on who we as a committee are gonna recommend to Julie, what is her process? I mean, once she receives our recommendation,
Yeah.
does she have to do anything else, or is she just gonna say, okay, yeah, it makes sense? She gets on the phone and calls.
it's my understanding that she has the power right now to sign a company.
Okay,
She
okay.
went
She
through.
can, yeah, and I'm sure,
You know, without her
She
being
would
here to
do
ask
that.
what she planned on doing, I'm
Right.
just wondering if that's.
right, with the advisement of town council who would review the contracts
Of
and
course.
and all that.
But this is why I pushed to facilitate this in December and now in January, and why I'm not looking for extra things on the matrix, though I think it's all great. Myself, I have basically 3 or 4 questions, and I'm gonna go with the company. Personally, I think that any of these 3 companies could get lower costs for electricity than National Grid for the town. Any of the 3 of them. They're not only looked at by us, they're subjected to federal and state regulations. And when they go to the state, they're gonna have to jump through all kinds of hoops and be double checked there. If they do something wrong, the Attorney General is gonna be right on them. This is something they watch very carefully. So there are a lot of checks and balances, but if we procrastinate on this and we go all the way to June,
Yeah.
the chances of getting lower prices as
We'll
we
be lucky
approach.
to have our prices set,
Yeah.
or agreements set by next winter.
Correct. If we're lucky, we
If
can
we're
get
lucky.
this done, if we're facilitated, and we get Senator Moore and Representative Frost on board to push those committees to make a decision before the summer. And that way, that company has so many bidding periods every month that go out, so they can buy electricity at a lower cost. And I believe it's usually lower in the summer
Yeah.
than it is. And of course, one of the joys of the wind turbine would have been if we had that in plan right now. Solar collectors only collect energy during the day. National Grid's having all sorts of solar collectors in all the towns surrounding Auburn. Maybe we should offer National Grid as a wind turbine that produces energy at night. Let them own it. And would it fit into their scheme of things? Because all those, the solar collectors they have planned in Charlton, Millbury, and the other towns, they only work during the day. Also, National Grid raised the price of the wind turbine quite a bit because and when you talk to Madigan, they brought in the cost at 11 cents when they made the proposal. It's now 16.23. But it's even better than that for the town of Auburn if we went through with the project. It's even better than that. And why is that? When does the wind turbine produce its most energy? In the winter months. When does it produce the least amount of energy? In the summer, when the solar collectors produce the most. So you're not talking about a 60 to 70% increase in income from the wind turbine. You may be close to 80 or 90%, which shortens the payoff time and raises the income almost times 2. But they would have to calculate that with Matt Vanderbrook. And I'll get off my horse now. But think about it. That's when it produces the most electricity is in the winter. That's when the price is going to be the highest. National Grid has to pay us the same thing they're charging. Wow. Wow. Talk about a win-win. Hey.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, and again, first meeting with you folks, and I know you've been at this for some time. The examination and customer service levels of these 3 companies you've been looking at. Have we taken a look at their volume? I know you mentioned some of them I already have a bunch of towns locked into contracts, or you mentioned one of them in particular. Do those towns, do they defer, when the public has questions, are they deferred to, are they referred to the distributor for questions on their bills, or are they referred to the suppliers? So do these suppliers have customer service levels that can handle volumes of towns, or would, if I was a resident, would I call National Grid, or would I call this company?
If you have an emergency,
Right.
no electricity,
Mhm.
it's always National Grid, no matter which company you have. If the bottom half of the bill, the purchase of electricity is concerned, you would call them.
Okay.
And they're already servicing 38, 39 towns for Hampshire Council of Governments. If you look at this list that you gave me,
Right.
this company that they ranked, I think number 1 is only servicing 3 towns.
In this state, right. The,
Right.
in
No,
addition-
actually,
As a,
one of them is servicing no towns in this state.
this segue to, you mentioned if they have a question with the supplier, they would call the supply company. Some supply companies issue a separate bill instead of incorporating it just onto the national supply rate. Some companies will not add it to the National Grid bill, and they'll send you a separate piece of mail.
This is no.
I just wanted to check, has
Pretty
that,
sure
has
they all
that been
said
examined?
it would be
Okay.
part of the
Just
utility.
wanted to bring that up, that's all.
That's when you have a separate contract as an individual.
Yes, or
The
business.
yes, or a business. And what we're trying to do is help the citizens and the businesses. The bottom half of the bill, this is aggregation for the whole town of Auburn, buying in bulk. Like when I buy my
Right.
dog food, I buy it in bulk, I save a lot of money. If I don't buy it in bulk, I pay the highest price. You're not negotiating as one person, you're negotiating like Cape Light does. They have most of Cape Cod. I'm not talking about the munis at all.
I understand,
We can't beat the municipal light
I
company.
understand, yeah.
They have $40 to $60 less a month for electricity than we are. We cannot compete with them.
Why don't we buy
Unless
from them?
A what?
Why don't we buy from them?
We'd have to go with them and, and start the whole program. And we don't want to get into the polls and all the other things.
Do we know the dates when these aggregators purchase their bulk? You said it was twice a year?
That's when National Grid,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that came out in our process,
Yeah,
is that they're required by law to buy it twice a year.
right.
And
Do we know when
I
that
say
is?
it's like it's
December and June or something?
It's spring and fall.
Okay.
It's like October. They did give
May
us
and
the
October or
dates.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense, yeah.
And of course, the October one is when the prices have already gone up.
October.
Right.
They've already gone up.
Okay.
So it's like a
Yeah,
broken
it's
clock.
6
It's right
months.
twice a day, and no matter how smart your workers
Calendar
are,
skills are weak.
you may have the right time, but you're buying at the wrong time.
That's good.
All of these other companies, Good Energy and all the others, if they don't like the offers that these companies are making on the open market, they don't buy from them.
Right.
They wait a month and put another RFP.
Yeah, I don't think they're
Right,
locked
right,
in
right.
at any certain, these
No.
companies aren't locked in at any
They
certain
just
time.
they buy at low points, and then they'll buy blocks.
Yeah.
And so throughout the life of the contract, however that long that will be, that's kind of their end of the deal, is that they maintain. They're watching the market and they're buying to make sure that they can guarantee that price that it's.
And all the time, they
It's
know what
locked in.
National Grid is charging.
Yes.
So they know the result of the race before it's run. Now, there will be times when National Grid will be lower,
Yes.
just by luck.
Right.
Just by luck.
And it's not that much of a difference sometimes.
No. But I mean, we're talking about a substantial difference.
Yes.
It would definitely not outweigh
Yeah.
over the course of
Of
12
course,
months.
of course.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
You can get it with the private company now as an individual for 13.5, which is still cheaper than 16.23 of National Grid. Now, how long that rate's going to stay there, I don't know.
Nobody does. Yeah.
But when it changes down, what it's going to change to? Maybe it'll be 13.5 then too.
Be lower.
Could be lower if they
Could be
put the
higher.
if they put the natural gas line in. There are a group of people that have bought up where they want to put high extension wires through Canada, through Maine, and a group has purchased a lot of the land where those telephone poles would have to go, is trying to stop the electricity from Quebec. If that ever comes here, we'll have cheap hydroelectric power. So we could be looking at lower costs in electricity. I talked about earlier, in Germany, they have a solar collector now that's twice as efficient. It's not in production yet, but they have it working as the ones we have now.
Well, we still have 4 untouched agenda
Yeah, I didn't mean
items.
to reflect, I apologize.
I have to get it before in the morning to go to Boston, so if we can start
Okay,
to
let's get
just
going.
make sure we get to hit everything tonight.
All set?
Yes.
Committee concerns and communications. If anyone doesn't have this article,
Was that TNG or was that the,
this is TNG, December 19th, A4, Auburn Committee. Here's aggregation presentation.
I can look it up.
Any other concerns? We've certainly talked about a lot of them.
Actually, I did read that.
Can we pass them on? I just want to thank
Sure.
you. Thank you.
Okay, solar for green credits. One of the things we can do is if these companies offer other services, which I don't think we mentioned, maybe we can add that afterwards, is what other services do you provide for the town? For example, Hampshire offers health programs. But they would also find communities of the 38 that they represent that are looking for green credits if we had a solar plant here. Or if the wind turbine went through and they wanted to sell those green credits, they would find the town to buy that from us. So it would help facilitate that very easily. Does anyone have any concerns or ideas? Next meeting. We should leave this in the town planner's hands for when you can get National Grid to come in. And just so this is my vision of that meeting, is this is what we have up on their website, up on our TVs, and it can be seen on, hopefully on television. And that person should be very knowledgeable in explaining in detail the ins and outs and those things that aren't concerned on the website, on how we can get these things used by our citizens. They're still going to be eligible for all of these, even if they go with us or if they go with another company.
Do you want to do that at the same time that you review this matrix and make that recommendation to Julie on the same meeting? Is that what
You
you're
may need 2 meetings.
suggesting? Okay.
We're
You
gonna,
may need a quick meeting for this, for your list. I make that as the priority,
Okay.
so that we can get it to Julie, because I don't want it said that this committee held up the process.
Right.
I want our suggestions to her to go as early as we can. And I think all of these companies can save the citizens of Auburn money. And that's what we have for.
now, once the matrix is completed, you said you're gonna email it out, you're gonna send Bob a copy or whatnot. Are we just gonna review it briefly and just say, we give it our blessings and then we send it off? Or are we going to actually bring it in and discuss the final draft, if you will, of the matrix at a meeting? Do we need to, do you think?
I think you'll use it as a tool to discuss your decision and make a recommendation.
Oh, no, I understand that, but I mean, before it's sent out to the companies.
Oh.
What process, are we just gonna review it through email? Or are we gonna discuss it, the final
I
draft
hear what
of
you're
it?
saying.
Yeah.
Do we, I don't want to violate any open meeting laws. If one of the members has suggestions,
Yeah.
can they then mail it back to you?
Oh, okay, so, yeah.
I don't want to violate any open meeting laws.
Yeah.
That could be done.
What I was.
They'd have to be presented, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
They'd have to be presented as contributions in front of the entire committee at the meeting.
Eric, I already emailed it to you, so
Mhm.
if we want to just look at it and kind of once and done, I don't know, or do you want to actually have it take some time to digest the list?
Yeah, why don't we,
You want to receive it and then we'll talk if we need
yeah,
a meeting?
I think so.
How would that
So
be?
you don't want
I
me
don't, I
to
don't
just
think, I don't think
send
it'd
it
take a
out?
long time. Even if we have it right after the National Grid presentation the same night, maybe.
You think we can do both?
Oh,
I think reviewing it will be fine. My concern would just be lead time on it. So it's just, how much time then it'll take to send it out and get it back. That would be, but no, I agree, reviewing it I don't think would be,
Can I just ask for clarification? Are we talking about reviewing it before I send it to the companies?
Yes.
Or reviewing it?
Yes, before.
Okay.
Reviewing the final draft of the actual document and then sending it.
And then sending it?
When can you
Okay.
get it out to us?
I understand.
When can you get it out to us?
Next week?
you already have it now. You have it in your email, so.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about Monday or Tuesday
So I can
next
have it
week?
as early as tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or as early
Well,
as
I'm not
tonight.
in tomorrow and Friday, but
Oh.
if you send it to Matt, he could
Okay.
forward it to the committee.
All right, then why don't we say, if you have concerns with it by the end of next week, call me
Yeah,
if you
absolutely.
feel like you need a meeting, and then we'll schedule one. If not, we're gonna go on the basis, on the premise that we're not having a meeting.
So if I don't hear anything,
Send it out.
then we're gonna send
We're gonna
it out.
send that out
I'll
next
check
Friday.
in. I'll check in with you.
Yeah.
Yes, and in the meantime, we want to have that special meeting with National Grid's gifts to the citizens of Auburn. And I'm talking about the $2,000 in electrical grants. I'm talking about the zero-interest heating loans. I'm talking about the fee, the gifts of $100 or $50 for an old refrigerator, and any other type. I'm talking about when are they going to have that program where they give $1,900 to replace your furnace? Right now, it's $400 to $500.
You mentioned this is on their site?
First and thirds are up for me.
Yes,
Oh, first
you
and
know.
third are out for you.
Yes, so
But it needs to be explained by a person
23rd
to
of
get
the
more
ninth.
details.
Involved in the initiatives?
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
terrible.
But there are a lot of people in Auburn that could be saving maybe $5,000, $10,000.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't afford a new furnace, but they'd love to pull one up there if they got a zero-interest
If you
loan.
think you can get National Grid
Okay.
at that time.
Yeah.
That's only a couple
That's what I can do.
Right. So we're talking about dates for the next meeting. We could do the 9th or the 23rd. So what we can do is reach out to National Grid and see how soon we can get them to come,
That's the key.
and then schedule it based on that. So
If we have it on one of the other Mondays, I can only stay for like an hour.
I
You know what
see.
I mean?
Yeah.
I have a commitment at 6:30, so, I mean, if
16th.
their presentation is going to be an hour or less, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd rather not miss it.
Right.
So.
How does the committee feel about shooting for the 9th?
2 weeks.
That's a Monday.
Yep. I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
That's not, I mean, I wouldn't make anything that way, it doesn't matter what, I mean, I'll be
Doing taxes.
working like 85 hours a week for the next 3 weeks.
Gotcha.
That's all?
May I suggest that
surprised
we
you did tonight.
choose a second date in case the National Grid rep cannot make the first?
Yeah. So the 23rd.
Yeah,
Okay.
either one's fine for me.
Okay.
Works for me. I'll come any of those days.
You know, or obviously, if neither one of them and the 16th works, have it by all means. on
It's
the
a holiday,
Yes,
President's Day.
yes it is.
But if he wants to come.
I wish I was working for the public again.
Music to my ears. Okay.
Anything else that you need? I'll entertain an emotion to adjourn.
Oh, we,
Minutes.
Minutes, oh,
I was
minutes.
just, you beat me to it.
I think we need a chance to read them,
Okay,
and then we'll come back at the next meeting and
Approve them.
we may have to add or subtract or, and then approve them. And I
and
think
if
she
anybody
wants,
needs copies, I don't know if I didn't make enough.
I think she wants them in the clerk's office within 2 weeks of after they're approved.
Yep, she has draft, I did send draft ones. Some
That's
was-
because someone had
I
requested that.
requested them, so,
Okay. Great.
but I will, once we approve them at the next, I'll send them right over.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you again for your excellent help. I want to thank the whole committee for all your input. It was really helpful tonight. And next meeting will be determined, Eric and Matt, and when you guys can have National Grid here. And we're going to do both that day. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good meeting.